I think AI is a blessing and a curse.
All right, welcome everybody back to the Brainiac Blueprint. We have a very special episode today as we're joined by action hero partner and dare I say, should I be so bold to say friend?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, we're 3,000 miles apart. I do think of you as a friend.
I agree. A Slack and Zoom connection and friend here. So we're joined by Scott Salik. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
I actually might have a shoot in Philadelphia, and I accepted it because you were on the list of people I want to have dinner with.
Oh, you have to let me know. That'd be great. Let's get that scheduled. I'll take you around to Reading Terminal and all the good spots.
That'd be perfect. I'd love that. So,
awesome.
So we'll just have to figure out a date.
Yes. Love that. Awesome.
All right.
So Scott, you are the founder and executive producer at Carpe Canum. People can check you out at carpecanum.com. Per your LinkedIn, you guys do affordable end-to-end streaming TV video production. And a little teaser for everybody. You guys have a new product that I'm looking forward to us to dive into. But yeah, Scott, if you don't mind doing a quick intro about your background and your experience and anything you want to share about Carpe.
Yep, I'm Scott Salik. I'm a partner in Carpe Canum Media. So we do low-cost commercial creative for streaming TV. So we do commercials that are targeted basically on streaming advertising. We work with our main distributor is a company called TV Scientific, and we help fill their commercial load for customers who don't have commercials. We can build the commercial and then also manage the campaign, or we can just build the commercial and then you can manage the campaign yourself. So I've been in the business a really long time, and I've literally produced content for every size screen from the old TV, 3x4 TV, all the way up to 16:9 high def, all the way up to stuff for the big screen, where I worked on movies like Anchorman and Beethoven and Fluke and The Edge and things like that. So
that's amazing.
Team America. There's another one. That's another one.
Nice.
People like that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was doing a little bit of research. I was scrolling through your LinkedIn, saw that you were like a runner for Disney and all that stuff back in the day, I think.
When I first started, it was just ABC. It was just ABC television back then. I ran with during the Olympic trials and all their Olympic events out of college, and I was always on. I guess that started my lifelong love of technology. So I was always on the tech units of any kind of shoot. So in that case, the biggest one we did, I used to do NFL, USFL football. And I did baseball and some golf, a lot of golf. So we all had all the technology that came with covering those widespread events. But I worked on the U.S. Olympic trials in 1984. I'll date myself. And we had one of the first electric vehicles with a camera mount on it that we had to bounce off a helicopter that was flying above. And then we had to bounce it off a tower and then back down to our home base. So it was all the microwave technology, all that kind of stuff. And the funny thing was the cart had a gas engine and a battery. And when they built and designed, and the idea was that the runners wouldn't have to have exhaust in their face. And when they built the cart, they never figured in the weight for the camera and transmission gear. So after about the first 5 miles, the battery ran out on the car. And it was gas the whole rest of the way.
Oh my God. I wish I could have seen all of this, in motion. I'm sure that was quite the scene.
It was funny stuff. So
awesome.
Yeah. So, I know you wanted me to ask this question. So I think AI is a blessing and a curse.
That's great. Yes, I would agree with that. I think a lot of tools can be used for good and for bad, and I think we're seeing that with AI. So,
well, I think also the people have a lot higher expectation as to what it can do than what it can really do right now. I think it'll do all that stuff great, and everybody's seen the Popeye commercial and a lot of the other full AI commercials that have come out. But those are big agencies with big budgets producing those.
Yes,
with lots of processing power and data scientists who know how to write the prompts. So
yes, yeah, it still takes there's still some kind of quick fix tools, and then there's the highly skilled, highly techy kind of ones out there, and you got to know which is which, and which is going to help you the best. So Awesome. I think that's a great starting spot. I wanted to jump in a little bit about Carpe a little bit more, just so people have a better understanding about what you guys do. So, what's the story? What inspired you to launch a performance-based video agency like this? And what's a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to creative?
So there have been two times in my career where I really felt like I could make, there was a life-changing, amazing technology, amazing opportunity that I was going to be involved with. And the first was like, I worked at a company called Beachbody, and they're with a leading provider of fitness videos, Tony Horton, Power 90, P90X,
I did some P90X back in the day.
Yes, maybe that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
And when I came in there, I was hired to build the internet side of it and all the sidecar content. And at that point, YouTube was a year old. So we had to build everything out in order to make that work. So all the streaming network, the web interface, everything. But that opportunity to be able to provide fitness information at that level, I thought that was an unprecedented opportunity for me. So I took that job at Beachbody and we built all that out. And then when an old friend of mine was telling me about what they were building at TV Scientific and the ability to target commercials directly to households and basically make TV advertising available to any size business, I thought that was an amazing opportunity because for the most part, originally, until recently, 500 companies did something like 80% of the TV advertising in this country. Sure. And most small companies never afford to do it. But with the ability that streaming offers and targeted advertising offers, any small business now has that same superpower of television to go ahead and use it to grow their business. So I saw that opportunity and I was finishing up at another company and I jumped on it. And it's been an interesting evolution in the last 5 years of how much that's changed in the last 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I think a lot of people think about this, big widening gap that can happen a lot of times with tech and things like that. But, I think streaming, similar to AI, has been one of those kind of equalizers that allows the little guy, the local shop, whatever it may be, to, get some exposure. And one thing that you and I have talked about a lot that I've really found fascinating is the targeting capabilities that are available in there. Do you have anything that you want to share there? Any kind of call outs, about the targeting? Again, I think a paid media guy, it's a little bit different and pretty powerful.
Well, what we can do is if you're a small business and you have an email list, we can target to the homes on that email list and hit about a 90% match back to the address to the physical address to the email address. So and then you can build lookalike audiences that look similar to your customers, and then just target those households with that. And the cool part about the TV Scientific platform, at least, is you can attribute that impression. So we look at from the point of exposure of the commercial all the way through to the purchase or website visit, wherever you consider a conversion. And that gives you like an amazing power as a small business, a small or medium-sized business, right? And what we do is the TV Scientific came to us and said, can you produce low cost commercials so that every business has a chance? And so that's what we do. We create the low cost commercials. And if we bring in the client, or like when you and I work together, we help build out the whole streaming targeting platform of it all, plan of it all.
And one thing I want to kind of clarify is, when you say low cost, it doesn't necessarily mean low quality. No. It just means cost effective. We all get hit by a ton of content and we know immediately what isn't good and what isn't authentic. But I think you guys do a great job of being able to have, creative integrity and have a clear message. So I'm curious what your process is and how do you ensure, like, what is a good ad to you that you want to put out there on these streaming networks?
Well, in streaming, it's an ad. Think of it as a direct response medium. It's not a broad net anymore. It's just very specific. You talk directly to your customer, and I think that's what makes a good ad. You talk to that audience that you have and you want to reach. From our perspective in creating a commercial, we like to ask the client what they have, and we'll work off of those assets, the existing assets, to save them money. It's important to not spend so much money on your ad that you can't afford to build out a budget to be able to get the ad to your customers. Otherwise, it's useless. You want to have a frequency of around 7 before someone will really start recognizing your product. And in order to do that, you have to have some money to be able to target your audience.
Of course. Awesome. So I'm curious, budget obviously is a big thing, as well as just, operational standards and all this kind of thing. So I'm curious how you kind of pivot your strategy and your management of clients when it comes to, a small local brand versus, like a large national type of company that we all already know.
It's all the same, kind of. I mean, except with large national brands, you have a lot more voices, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times because of our budgets, we have to say one voice. So you guys can take all that feedback, but one person has to transmit that to us. You'll laugh about this, but we use Frame for client feedback on the different edits, on the different cuts, right, and the different versions. So we had a client arguing on, like, they were literally arguing with each other in the notes, and one of the people on the team got fired in the notes. Basically was, don't listen to him anymore, and then that person was gone on Monday.
Oh my God.
So it's like really? So
that's not what you expect to happen.
No, and it's like, and that made us even more reinforce the one voice thing. So whether it's a big client or a little client, we want one voice to comment in on it. So that helps. That also manages the budget. It helps keep costs under control.
Absolutely. Awesome. So Scott, as you know, this is kind of an AI podcast here. I love AI. I think it's very cool, very powerful. And the reason that I wanted to have you on is because of this new product that you guys have been developing and testing and really getting out into the ecosystem. So can you tell us a little bit about it? What is it? And what problem are you solving with it?
So we just launched something called high volume personalization. And what that allows us to do is take a commercial, whether we build it or someone else builds it, and modify it, create a bunch of different versions for each audience segment you have. So whether it's 10 versions or 800 versions, which we have a client talking to us about right now, we can do that at a really cost-effective way. And, part of you can add in AI VOs if you want to. So if you want to have a different VO in each one, we can build out an AI VO. If the AI helps manage the process, so it's not all manual anymore. We used to sit in we used to do when I was younger, we used to have the executive producer would do a commercial, and then they'd throw us in an edit bay for a week at night, making all the localized versions. Well, now we can do that in 24 hours. With a certain amount of automation, and it really allows. It's another one of those things that allows a small business to have the same power as a major brand like Ford or Lincoln or whoever.
What does your QA and your accuracy process look like? Is it kind of like building it out into the system to make sure that's right? Or is there I'm sure you guys aren't going through and watching all 800 versions, right? So
we're spot checking them, and you can usually see an error. And if there's an error in the pattern, sometimes it'll flag a version having an error, but we spot check them. We'll look at every 10. Have one of the team members look at every 10. That might increase or decrease depending on the problems we see.
Sure. That
right,
makes
sense. Right now, it's pretty accurate. We haven't really seen a lot of errors. It's pretty reliable.
Very cool. I know you and I have discussed this, but for some of our viewers, can you elaborate on some of the reasons that people would have so many variations, and why it is so useful?
Yeah, I mean, let's just do the most basic one. Think of localizations. If you have multiple locations, you can customize the special, the call out, the products that you want to offer in that branch of your store. You can change out the end cards so that it calls out the specific address. So you could then target that. You could say, go to your neighborhood action hero store, right? And in that you could say, change out just the end card that says, 16 Main Street, Philadelphia, or, just to do that. And localization tends to people feel like, okay, this is a local business. I want to support them. And they're nearby, so it's convenience. I read a study that said like most people won't drive more than 5 miles. I think it was 5 miles to a business. That'll be their priority, the distance they're willing to go from their home.
Interesting.
I can find the data, but it was I think it was 5 miles. But, if you can make that commercial look like it's a local store, that they know where the location is, they don't have to think about it, they might be more apt to go. Another thing is you can look at your audience data from your website, and you can target products to those specific different audience segments that those people will be more likely to buy. And so you can customize the commercials like that. You can change out the special, the feature and benefit. I'm laughing at your dog putting his little face in there. You know, you can change out the promo code, right? And you can do promo codes. What we did for one, we did a run of 240 plus ads for a casino app client. So this client is available in 40 states. Every state had to have a different disclaimer line on it. We did a national spot, and then they wanted to localize it because their data shows that if it's localized for the state, there's more apt for people to use it because they compete against each other in the game, and people like to compete against people who are in their area.
Sure.
So we created 40 state versions, and we changed out the graphics and the VO in each of those 40. And then they wanted to test 5 offers for each of the states. So then we had 5 versions of each of the 40 spots. And I think it was like 240 some odd spots, 241 some odd spots for that program. So, and then they were able to see what offer worked best in what market and push that at full speed. And you know, you can get data back in pretty short form. You know, a week or two, you'll have your data back of what's working, what's not.
That's so cool to me. You know, one of the things that I've always enjoyed about paid media, you know, whether that be search or social or anything like that, is the availability of data and the availability of quick testing so that you can, you know, learn messaging and offers and all that kind of stuff. And you can kind of carry that to other mediums. And I think, you know, to your point earlier, one of the, you know, historical challenges of commercials is, you know, the cost prohibitive nature of it. But now that you can kind of, again, test and you can learn and see what offers are working the best with these demographics or these, you know, geographies, that's just a whole other ballgame. It's very cool to kind of see and hear it in action.
Yeah. And, you know, if you're in something with like a franchise business, I mean, think about what you know, and think about what you can do for your franchisees. You can offer them their own commercial package for their market, and then literally target, you know, within 5 miles of that store all the way around, you know, for the demographic that wants that product. And it's pretty amazing. And think about how much money you can save by not just throwing this giant net over the entire city of Philadelphia, when literally you know what area that store really has customers from.
Very cool. Very cool. Anything else you want to share about HVP before I kind of jump into some other AI and creative related stuff?
No, but this is probably a good bridge. So did I tell you that we're doing this AI focus group, generative AI focus group testing now?
You did mention that. I forgot about that. Elaborate. That was another cool thing that you told me about.
Yeah, we're just launching next week. So it's kind of funny. I would never launch 2 products within 2 months, but it's just timing that we had access. So we got access.
So you're sleeping well right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like not. That's why I almost canceled this today. Yeah. But I'm in the Producers Guild of America, and because of that, I had some information about a platform that originally had been created for feature films and TV shows to AI focus group test scripts and budgets and concepts, right? And they recently launched a brand module, and so they were kind of in a beta test of the brand module, so we were able to get in on that early. And M&M Mars is also on the platform as one of their big people, one of their big clients, and they're parallel testing the generative AI creative focus group testing and the real audience focus testing. So synthetic audience and human audience, and they're getting pretty parallel results on the focus group testing at a fraction of the cost.
I have to say I'm a little disappointed that I'm not involved in that test, or you know, those focus groups. If you ask my family, they'll confirm this. I was obsessed with M&Ms, so I could have been a really good voice, you know, to provide some feedback there.
I'll see if we cross paths with the folks who are doing there, and I'll let them know.
Perfect.
It's funny because did you ever do dial testing? Do you remember dial testing?
I don't think so. No.
So I used to work when I was doing stuff for HGTV and DIY networks and Food Network. I would sit on the dial tests for the shows I was working on, and basically you had a bunch of people sitting in a room turning a dial as what they liked and they didn't like throughout the show, and then you'd get all these scores. You'd see all these meters going up and down on the screen, and you'd get kind of a cumulative score. and then you would then interview the people about what they like, why they said what they do, and stuff like that. So that was like a good kind of background for me on this. And this is a very similar process. We can look at the answers and the scores from the synthetic participants, and that's so weird to say that.
Yeah.
The synthetic participants, and then we can actually chat with them and ask why they. Yeah, it's crazy. And like we just went through a test we did for college, a small women's college, and the buying score came out low, but the how likely are you to go visit the website score came out really high, and that seemed counterintuitive to me. So when we went and we interviewed, when we went and chatted with the synthetic participants, we found that they considered buying to be enrolling, and all that the commercial was asking for was to learn more, and 90% of those people scored it on a scale of 10, 9 out of 10 that they would go to the website to. You can't. I mean, that's like amazing numbers, And on other stuff we've seen, we haven't scored that. That's the highest we've scored on anything. But it's been a good learning to see how the system works, and by the ability to chat with the synthetic participants, allowed us to get information on why these answers that intuitively would seem wrong to us.
So interesting. So, I mean, the concept of interviewing and just the term synthetic participant is wild to me.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
And the cool thing about this is that they did during the pandemic, they did like thousands of paper surveys with real participants to build the generative AI database.
Okay.
Yes, the learnings, the database, whatever you call it. And that's how they were able to build out this product. And it's and you can see it getting better each week. You literally right now it's very strong. And what our clients love it. Like they're loving it. It allows clients to go to their bosses and say, here's why we should do this. Right. Because, they don't care that it's a fraction of the cost of what a real focus group would do. Because small business.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. What are we calling this product?
I haven't called it anything yet. So.
All right.
But it's generative AI focus group testing.
Cool.
We got to come up with a product. Hey, man, you're marketing. Like, I'm terrible at marketing ourselves. I
think we need to go to a focus group to figure out the.
That's what we should do. We can actually do that. We can actually test.
There you go.
Maybe I'll have this guy, one team member named Emmett, manages that platform, and I'll ask him to do that.
I love that. You have to let me know how it goes.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Is this product available for everybody, or are you? Yeah,
starting next week it'll be available. Yeah, we're kind of light releasing it right now because we're heavy into this high volume personalization and talking to people about that. But yeah, anybody can ask for it. We're talking about it.
So this feels like a conscious effort to be leaning into AI. Do you and the Carpe team kind of have strategy sessions saying like, how can we get more efficient or offer more services like this? I'm curious. 2 products in, like you said, 2 months isn't necessarily a coincidence. So I'm curious how this has all come about.
Well, as they're presented, and you kind of have to look and see how they fit into your model. And what would benefit your organization. So that's kind of how it's happened with us. So
is this like a solution has come to you and said, like, we have this technology and we can integrate
kind of in this case. Yeah. And
okay.
On the high volume personalization, we did a test a few years back for TV Scientific, and the platform never really did what it was supposed to do. So it got killed off. So I knew from that there was a demand for it because we were really trying to make it work maybe 2 years ago. And now, it's so funny. It was off a platform. Now we can do it on local workstations. We can do it, with some computing power in the background.
Very cool.
But we don't. We kind of, have a problem and look for a solution. It's like we're not in a rush to do any AI. We have an AI commercial building, low cost commercial building platform that a lot of people are using. But we see a lot of those commercials because we know what the templates look like. But what we do is we lay a human layer on top of it. And most of the ones we've seen, it's just the templated commercial. And, I can tell you from experience, a lot of those templated commercials have a pretty low success rate compared with the ones that, you have some more human polishing on. We always add that polish layer. I think that that's an important thing in any AI integration now.
So you literally read my mind there in terms of, where I wanted to go next. So one of, I think, an interesting, concept or perception that needs to be overcome when it comes to AI is people thinking about, the replacing of jobs and or just replacing of humans with AI, and that's certainly happening. I'm not trying to say that it isn't.
Like I'd hate to be a voiceover artist right now.
Yeah, right.
I have all due respect that they do amazing work, but when you're in the low budget land, you have a certain amount of our work now is done on AI VOs, and they do a really good job, and that's something that gets better every week.
Absolutely. So the way that I try to frame it is thinking about it as human empowerment, versus complete and total replacement. So it seems like you're on the same page there. I guess, how do you kind of like draw that line of, this is too much AI and we need to get more humans involved, or, do you kind of have a process there, or is it just like you said, like there's a problem, we have this solution, let's test it and kind of figure out, where to go from here?
It's like the song goes, day by day. Oh dear Lord, 3 things I say.
There you go.
It's changing so fast. You can't do that. You have to kind of say, this is what we are able to digest as a company. And my business partner, he is on the post side. He manages all the post, and he is using AI to clean up stuff and clean up audio. And his background is audio. So for him to jump on the AI stuff, it's like, he didn't go begrudgingly, but he sees the value of the tools and the speed that it picks up. So we're using it as we have a challenge. And if we see an interesting thing like the AI focus group testing, and I spoke on another webinar, and that's how I found out about the product that allowed us to do the high volume personalization, but no one else was doing it on a CTV level.
Oh, interesting.
No one that we've been able. There's a company there's a big company that does it on the commercial level, that does it all with AI, and it's a major, big time backers, all that kind of stuff. Well, we're trying to help small and medium sized businesses succeed.
Very cool.
And we could do it for a big company. I don't want to push that business away, but we're trying to make it cost effective where we can make some money and they can grow their business.
Yep, just more accessible to everybody.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of AI, is it makes stuff available to people.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Side note, can you hear the thunderstorm happening? I feel like we've got an interesting like this. Okay, I was like, this podcast is doomed right now. I've got a thunderstorm and rain.
There's change in the air. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Brother, there's change in the air.
There's always change. All right, cool. So I want to jump into ad agencies, in the AI area. So, I'm curious how you think about Carpe and how you guys fit best in this very oversaturated landscape. There's a million ad agencies, myself included, and a million creative agencies. So, what is your positioning? How do you guys fit best? What is your kind of selling point that you guys continue to push out there?
We're a production company that understands streaming TV and targeting. Having been a early investor in TV Scientific, we understand the goals of streaming. I was with the CEO yesterday talking about the high volume personalization and also the focus group testing yesterday. And I was actually teaching him about what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a lot of conversations about the streaming, the audience targeting. How their new product, which is a guaranteed outcomes product, where you pay for your outcomes, and how that works and how that fits into it, and how creative integrates into that. So we have that relationship. We work with other platforms. We've supplied commercials for Mountain. We've supplied commercials for Ribeye. Some of the other ones. I don't want to diss Vibe, but I'm going to diss Vibe because that's a self-serve platform with a self-serve commercial. And we get customers who have been on it and have gotten no results out of it. And it goes into that, well, everything can't be just automated,
Yeah.
It's not to that point yet. And we get a lot of those, and then a lot of those people will come to us and say, well, why should we go with you? Because, we didn't have any results on Vibe. I think that you get what you kind of pay for.
Yeah.
And again, Vibe does a great job for a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, but for when you put everything as automated, I think that the consumer realizes that, and they're not interested in that. That commercial doesn't grab their attention.
Again, it comes to that quality, that authenticity. There's still a need for that human touch to make sure that there is good quality and everything involved. So
yeah, and I think there'll always be a need for some human interaction with that to make it better, to improve the and unless we become the singular personality, then well, then all bets are off.
So I'm curious, Scott, I think we talked about this a while ago, so I think I know the answer, but streaming is obviously huge and it's only getting bigger. Are you guys planning on just like staying there, or do you have aspirations to branch out to network commercials or YouTube video production, or like whatever, maybe anything like that?
I would do we do a lot of stuff for YouTube.
Okay.
Everything we do now, we also do social versions of. So in any package that we deliver either a 9x16 or a 1x1 or whatever format the client requests for their social channels. So we do support all that. We can film. YouTube is just another streaming platform, really. So
good point.
But we'll do YouTube. We don't care.
Yeah.
I've done network commercial, but I've done network commercials in the past, and I've done local commercials. And originally, when I was interning out of college, I did supermarket commercials, and that's really where I learned about high volume personalization. Basically, that was my first exposure to that. So we don't care. I would say there's kind of a cap on how much budgets we're set up to manage, but then we would bring in partners. So we have relationships with other big production companies where we act as the agency with, and then they produce a commercial just because they're more skilled at it. And
for sure.
I've done big shows. I've worked on big live shows. I've worked on features, all that kind of stuff. And it's just, I don't want that stress anymore.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. The storm is coming down. So cool. I wanted to kind of get into, some the speculative and prediction part of the conversation here. So I'm curious where you think the future of video personalization is going to go. You can again talk in general. You can talk about streaming and CTV. If you think there's something else like kind of headed down the horizon, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, what's interesting is a lot of these platforms now are getting into a position where they can buy broadcast and streaming at the same time and model in the same way. And look at what's crazy is I don't know. I mean, you probably know this that now they have ways of judging metrics within store. Of commercial, what kind of in-store traffic they get. There's all these firms taking, jumping on the attribution chain because that's what everybody wants to see. Sometimes I think we overlook at attribution, and sometimes it's just real. It's really just it's awareness which builds attribution. But like there are firms that specialize in foot traffic, and I just think that the future is more specific attribution. A media mix with broadcast and streaming, and be able to track all that. I think from a production standpoint, there's going to be more and more tools out there that you're going to be able to do lower cost production, more automated, but you're still going to have some kind of creative differentiation in order for it to stand. It's because they're all going to look alike. And I just, you're starting to see stuff be similar, already. Like a lot of, talk to any professor who's working in a university getting papers in from kids, and they can tell that the papers were all generated by AI because they're all the same,
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's all like the same punctuation and things like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But the good thing is ChatGPT just released the learning version. So so when you're writing a paper, you can learn while you're writing it. I can tell you I don't know how many students are, 20 somethings are going to be using that,
Oh, come on now. We're staying optimistic.
Claude AI also came out with something like that about 4 months ago, and now ChatGPT just released it. So
I guess that makes sense. I'm so torn with that all because, I think in the simplest version of it, we go back to the days of even just having a calculator, and, we had to learn all these like complicated, times tables and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, why do we have to do that? We have a calculator. And so it's like, well, why do I need to be able to write a 20-page essay? I have ChatGPT, so
sometimes you have to understand.
Used, right?
Sometimes you need some of that knowledge to understand the logic behind that stuff.
Fair enough.
I would say, listen, I learned about abacuses, but we never used an abacus. But they just learned about it. How the abacus led to the calculator, basically, and and how all that. And when you see the kind of how that works and the foundation of the technology, you can use the technology better. And if you have an understanding about what sucks is that people that whoa moment is going to go away, where you kind of discover something and that clicks in your head. As humans, I think that makes our brains grow, and I think that that's missing from a lot of people. I get laughed at by the younger people who work for us, because I'll say, well, this is why that happens. Do you know why that happens?
Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you know why when you're editing audio, they say, put a hair or put some air in there or put a hair? And they're like, no idea, and the reason is because when you used to hand cut audio tape, you used to razor, put it on a block, put the tape on a block, cut it where you wanted the edit to go. The amount of distance between the two pieces of tape was a hair or an ear or some air or a couple beats. It was a physical, visual, tactile experience. And that's where those things come from. And when you know that, when you understand that, you can make your products better.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I'm now picturing you sitting around using an abacus, but I think that's a great point.
If I wasn't in my virtual office, which is, by the way, this is actually what the office looks like. I just couldn't get there today because I'm waiting for delivery. So I threw up. But on the shelf back there, I still have 3/4 inch tapes and I have a 1/4 inch audio tape and I have that stuff to just kind of remind me of where it came. I have a dial phone from a prop from a show I did once, and I used to have it on my desk in my office when I was at one of the companies I worked for, not Beachbody, but the one after that. And the kids would come up and go, "Well, how did you text on this?"
Oh my God!
And my favorite one was, "Well, wait a second. If you wanted to dial 1-800, you had to wait for the dial to go all the way around."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah." They said, "Well, that took so much time." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But that gave you a chance to think before you yelled at the guy on the other phone because he hit speed dial, or you told this guy you're an asshole on text. It gave you a chance to think and kind of digest the thought." And I just think there's a certain importance to that we don't have anymore because we just rely on the technology. I'm just as guilty for that.
It's too easy to do. You just get into it. It becomes so integrated into our lives. So it's too easy to do. I totally get it. Do you think that that campaigns by default will soon have 50 to 100 variations, or even just you think so?
I think based on the targeting, yeah. I think that maybe not this year, but in the next couple of years, they'll see the power of and it's funny when I was speaking with the TV Scientific team, I said micro audience, and they go, "What is it? What do you mean by that? Define that." And it's like, I think you can look at your website data. You can, if you're a local Ford dealer, right? You can look at the IP traffic from your website for the week and see this many people looked at Explorers, this many people looked at F-150s, and this many people looked at electric Mustangs, right? And then you could literally on Sunday say, okay, we had 1,000 people at this, 1,000 people at this, 1,000 people at this. And we could build out a commercial with the Mustang inventory you have on the lot. You just send us the still pictures and we'll just build a VO behind it. And you could target at those people who are interested in the electric Mustangs or the F-150s or the Explorers. I think there's so much competition for advertising. I think that'll give people, a better chance at selling to their customer.
It's the age-old thing, concept when it comes to marketing. Be there with the information they need when they need it. Mm-hmm. So that's a perfect example right there.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. This product's going to have to evolve because as the targeting abilities and the streaming targeting evolves. But yeah, we're willing to do that and invest in that evolution because I think it's a good, strong product, and I think it'll help a lot of businesses.
Cool. Very cool. So I'm just curious if there's any other trends that you're kind of monitoring closely that you think might have an impact on you guys in the next year, year to 2 years.
Well, obviously the AI footage, the video generation,
Sure.
and we've tested it out a few things. Right now, the most useful tool that we have is a client can send us a vertical video from a phone, right? And then as long as if someone pans the scene and they send us vertical video, the AI software will build out the wings and put it into a 16:9 frame.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's pretty effective. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's you have to watch it, but you need 3 seconds. You need a 3-second shot. You can get what you need out of it. So that's kind of a thing we're using right now, and it's going to come down to people knowing how to write prompts in order to get that image the way they want it, and that's.
So is that what it is? You upload the video and you kind of you engineer a prompt that says, "I want you to fill in the background."
Yeah, you say tell it to fill in the left and right side, and base it on the pan. If you pan, it does a really good job. If it's just a static shot, it does. It depends on the scene how well it does.
Okay.
But it guesses obviously from pattern recognition what goes there. But that's when you need a 3-second shot and you're stuck, it works really well.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
But I think we're gonna. I'm sure in 2 years I'll be having someone say, "Okay, I need these scenes," and instead of going to a stock footage library like we do now, they'll create it. I'm still concerned about copyright. I've been the early internet days of copyright battle. I've been sued a couple times by the NFL for stuff that we thought we had the copyright on. So I'm a little copyright hesitant, shall we say?
Sure.
So I'm just that's what concerns me is there all this intellectual property is being scanned, and like for the Screen Actors Guild, part of the strike was AI generated characters, synthetic people basically. Yeah. And they came up to, I don't know the details of the agreement, but I know that they came up where if you combine person A and person B, both of the original people get a residual on that synthetic person, right? But how many generations down before you lose your rights to that thing that's a part of you,
Got it.
In the future, how many Tom Cruise noses are we going to see on people? And we'll go, hey, that's Tom Cruise's nose,
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I knew about the strike. I didn't go that deep into it. That's a very interesting, frontier, I guess you can call it, to be kind of marching down and figure out how to navigate that.
Yeah, and the studios are dealing. Think about cost savings and the thinning of the dollar. There's still the same amount of dollars out there basically, but it just goes to a lot more different sources of entertainment. So
sure,
they're gonna have
interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy in Los Angeles because I've known people who've been in the business for years who no longer have jobs because of the evolution of technology and just streaming versus broadcast versus all that kind of stuff. But I my saving grace is in what's kept my career going is always a thirst for technology and how to integrate technology in what I'm doing. So I was lucky. My parents
die, as they say, right?
Yeah, my parents gave me that. So
Yeah.
My dad was the first one on the block to have a microwave oven, and people used to tell us we're all going to be dead by the end of the month.
Oh my God!
Radiation poisoning.
Amazing. Yeah. So funny. Awesome. All right, I got a couple of rapid fire questions here for you, Scott.
Okay, sure.
So one, if you could snap your fingers right now and have one workflow or one AI tool or one automation just boom implemented into your day, what would that be?
I don't know. Really, there's so many potential answers. Some kind of project management tool, I guess, that would help us manage all the pieces with a lot of different editors all over the world and different participants. We deal with a lot of different verticals, so something that would make sure that everything was there so that we didn't lose all this time having to track stuff down.
Cool.
I think that would be the biggest help right now.
What about the tools that you have in place right now? What's one tool that you can't live without?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Love
because
that.
so I have dyslexia. So my business partner calls it Scottish, and like sometimes he'll say, "Let me translate Scottish." So I'll write what I want, and then I'll have ChatGPT help me to kind of clarify it and make sure I'm clearer and more effective in my words. So, and then also Grammarly, I love that product.
Okay, great. Yeah. I would love to see the custom GPT that's solving Scottish.
Yeah, even that shakes its head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a creative project that in your entire career that you're most proud of?
No, a lot of them. There's a lot of different things. It's like it's funny. It's funny because when I get together with friends or someone will ask me something, I'll say, "Oh yeah, I did work with that person," and I'll forget about it. You'll forget about them. The coolest thing was probably working with Robin Williams. And
Robin Williams.
yeah. So we did this thing. This is where AI is screwed. If you could AI his brain, I mean, so like we did this thing for CBS about keeping kids in schools, and so he was supposed to do something, and he hated the idea. Right? He said, "Just find me a library." So we went to the library at the high school where we were shooting this thing, and he walked in, and he said he walked through the stacks. And then he pulled out a bunch of books, just a smidge out of the stacks. He said, "Okay, I'm ready to go." And then he walked through the stack. He walked through and talked about the importance of learning and reading and became the characters in all these books. And then he said, "Okay, I want to do it again." And then he went and adjusted the books again. And then he went through and did it again. And just to see this thing come out of nothing was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen, and I've been with a whole ton of celebrities, but that was probably the most amazing thing I ever saw. So
he is one of the most talented people, for sure. He has one of my favorite stand-ups of all time. One of his specials in the early 2000s. Does that live out on YouTube anywhere?
I haven't been able to find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find it. So, I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've done a lot of really interesting projects. I've, shot all over the world. I've, and have relationships with people all over the world. My very first real job was when Richard Belzer got knocked out live on TV by Hulk Hogan and dropped on the floor. And me and the other guy was doing cue cards on that. And me and the guy next to me had to run out and pick him up hold him up so he didn't collapse. And then I called 911 backstage.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so the reason I mention that is because from early in my career, I learned that anything can happen in live, and you have to be prepared, and you have to be prepared for it. And the producer at the time was a guy named John Gilroy, who was Dick Cavett's producer. I really date myself. Before he was Dick Cavett's producer, so he had all this live experience, and he just got we still had 20 minutes of show left, of live show with 400 kids in the audience, and so he just got up, he went and sat in the host chair and finished the show, And so it was that was kind of a cool thing, but
awesome.
Yeah, I could go on.
That's a good lesson to learn early in your care're.
Yeah, well, I've had late cool stuff too. My experience with Body were amazing. I've really been fortunate. I've done very interesting things.
Very cool. Very cool. Couple more, just real quick, rapid fire. If there's one thing that you want marketers and creatives out there to remember or always keep in the back of their mind about AI powered video, what would it be?
Watch it carefully, because you'll never know. You never know what it's screwed up on, and it can make your product or commercial or your media a joke because of what's screwed up on there. It's one of the things that we run into is people give us social clips to use in commercials. And they go, "It's great. And they don't realize that, well, you're dealing with streaming TV, so you're dealing with a 65-inch screen, and every detail can be seen on that. And there's some things that you don't want to see in your commercial. And we had a food commercial where there was all this grease and crumbs and stuff on the table. We had another one where it was like a women's slip shorts where it left nothing to the imagination. And they work great on social, but not on a big screen. So, watch your stuff and realize that you're in in multi-format displays, you got to consider all the displays. I mean, I've seen broadcast commercials where I was like, how did that get in there?
That's a great point. Bigger screen means bigger visuals.
Yeah.
Cool. And what does your late night edit process look like? Are you, pounding coffee and tequila, or what's it look like?
Calling a guy in Spain if it's late night, that we work with, and having him do it. No, I mean, I like on certain projects, I still edit them myself. I'll do the rough because I like telling the story and kind of finding what works. And yeah, sometimes I'll have a scotch, or
there you go.
And I usually have a dog sitting next to my dog sitting next to my feet and reminding me he's down there, that that I should be paying attention. But it's and then I'll do that, and then I always have to look at it the next day to see if it's as good as I thought it was.
Of course.
Before I share it with the client. Never share late night work with the client.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, this is great, Scott. I wanted to kind of just give you a second here for, open forum. Is there anything that, you're passionate about or excited about that just in general you wanted to kind of share or anything like that?
No, not really. It's like, I say, like, my thing would be like the younger people who are coming into the business, it's like foster their talent and help them to not rely on this technology, and to use this technology to enhance their talent and take that time. That's kind of the most fun part for me now, is like seeing, helping bringing these kids alive. And even if it's on the client side, because I deal with a lot of 20 something and 30 something clients, and, don't be afraid to explain to them why this is done and help them to understand so they can do better in the future. Make a better industry.
It's a beautiful sentiment. Love that. Well, awesome, Scott. So just for anybody that's watching or listening, you guys can, again, check out Carpe at carpecanum.com. Scott, you're on LinkedIn. Do you have any other handles that you want to plug or share or anything like that?
Not a big, I got off social media because of it was not good for my mental health. So about 6 months ago, I got off of everything, and I'm enjoying that. Cooper J Dog is my dog, and he does have something, but I haven't posted recently on there. I took away his iPod because he was on it too many hours on social media himself. So, set
that timer for him.
Yeah, well, I tried to, but he, like as most kids, they figure out how to get around the safeties, But no, not really. Go to carpecanum.com, CARPECANUM.com. So seize the dog is basically roughly what it means, and that comes from we'll make the best out of anything. So a dog is like a bad script. And, so I wanted to go into it, and I was at a bad time when I just lost my job, and I was kind of in a crappy situation. And I said, now I'm going to make the best of this situation, and I'm going to grow from this. So Carpe Canum sees the dog, make the best of anything. We'll work with just about anybody and try to get them good content, and hopefully have fun doing it.
Oh, fun. I mean, why do it if it's not fun, right? So.
Yeah. Well, sometimes for the money, but
yeah, of course.
I mean, Cooper needs his greenies,
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. Scott, thank you again for joining me on the Brainiac Blueprint. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I always like hanging out with you, whether it's digital, and hopefully we've never met in 2.5 years. We haven't.
I'm really hoping we can make this dinner date happen whenever you're out.
Or get your passport and coming out to California.
I'll be out there at some point soon. I actually was just having some conversations about my next trip, so I'm hoping sometime soon for sure.
All right.
Well, Scott, do me a favor, look in the camera and just say, "Stay brilliant, Brainiacs."
Stay brilliant, Brainiacs.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
All right. See you soon.